When I say that, one thing that I want to prioritize when I am president is creating community. Any bill that passes should make sure that every single student on our campus is comfortable. One project I started as a senator was a program called Bears Breaking Bread. It was a series of dinners focused on bringing different communities together. Communities could come, join in conversation, eat dinner together, learn from one another, and build bridges on our campus so that we can work together as one united community. That's what our ASUC should be working towards. We should be bridging gaps, not dividing our campus. We should be making sure that the student voice is always heard, but so that every single student that feels politically empowered to take different positions can do so. A veto may veto a bill for a certain amount of time, but we also have to remember that the current veto that I think a lot of us are talking about has also prolonged the conversation. Any veto can be overrun. Doesn't mean we can't examine the issue further. Doesn't mean that more bills can't be submitted. But it does mean it gives senators an opportunity to go back to their communities, further consult, further dialogue, and learn more so that we can make a better decision that is representative of our entire campus.
So I would think that the best case scenario would for that discussion to be taking place before the veto, and for that discussion to take place before the veto, people need to know that these controversial bills are going to come up. And as a president, when I know that these controversial bills are going to come up, I'm going to take the time to attend the Senate meeting. I'm going to take the time to be there for the 6-hour discussion, the 64 public speakers that we do have. And honestly, I think we do need more time with some of these more controversial bills, and I think it might be a good idea to even have a town hall or forum beforehand, before the Senate meeting. I think it was mentioned before in someone else's platform. I think that's a great idea. I think vetoes are silencing. I think that the Senate is a democratically elected body, and vetoes should be used in very extreme, rare cases where I really am convicted that it's jeopardizing the well-being of the student body. I disagree with my opponent when he says that the president's political views don't matter, because as a president, if you elect me as president, my political views will be in play whenever I make a decision. I'm a political person. I'm a progressive person. All my values have a political tint to them, and I think it's silly to say that we want an apolitical president, because every decision that we make is political in the ASUC.
All right, I have some opinions about veto. I just want to say that fool is an absolute asshole. He did not help pay for the deposit on the hotel room in Vegas, which was about $200. Very unbro-like. Anyway. All right, back to what we were saying earlier about a progressive ASUC. Of course, we've had some institutional failures in the past. Back when a certain political party tried to charge us student fees and use our money to pay their own legal fees. That caused a little big deficit in the ASUC's budget. Kind of a big problem. Anyway, so ASUC kept trucking along, administration. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry, this graph.
Try formaldehyde.
Right. Time. Any good economist labels his graphs. Remember that. All right. Price, value, time series. So what we're going for is looking at the deficit of the ASUC here. All right. So now, over the first year, 2006, 2007, we're looking at a deficit here. Continue trucking along. ASUC did nothing to bridge its commercial activities or fix its fee issue. All that stuff is good and all, but hopey changey thing. New political party comes in. You think the deficit would be fixed, but no, went down. Recall election cost $30,000, twice as much as the original problem. So what we're looking at here is a fucking hole. In the ASUC's budget. Not only do we have a deficit of monies, ladies and gentlemen, we have a deficit of trust.
My president right there.
I would use the veto a lot because I think most of what the ASUC does is not legitimate. I don't believe 20 senators can effectively marshal the preferences of a large and diverse student body, and therefore I would veto any bill that doesn't directly return money to students.
Thank you. And you have 30 seconds.
So I think we need to remember what the ASUC is, and it's a 501c3. So legally, we actually can't be taking a political stance. And more importantly, we need to remember that there are a diverse perspective of students on our campus, and that's how it should be. And we don't want to silence anyone. We want our ASUC to be encompassing. If you're progressive, if you're conservative, if you're anywhere in between, I don't really care what your political stances are, but I want you to feel comfortable on this campus. When you turn to your student government, you see positions that empower students for your education, more vital services, better representation, and not political stances.
Currently, the university is in a crisis. We're in a political climate. We're in a political fight against the state to get our funding back. These are all political actions. Whenever we say, oh, I don't want to make a decision because this is too political, that is political in itself. I just really want people to realize that the ASUC is not some high school ASB that it's wearing like red polo, that's just walking around like planning prom or something. Okay, we're making real decisions here, and as someone who recognizes that I am political, I'm gonna be able to check that. I will check that when it's nice. Thank you.
I was on high school ASB.
Only if you're directly referenced by another candidate. Okay. The order for the third question is Eunice, Talia, Joshua, Noah, Chad. Eunice, Talia, Josh, Noah, Chad. The president meets with campus leaders, including Chancellor Bruno, frequently. If you had the opportunity to meet with the chancellor on one issue for the promise of tangible change, what issue would you bring up and how would you make your case? If you had the opportunity to meet with the chancellor on one issue for the promise of tangible change, what issue would you bring up and how would you make your case? Eunice.
Oh, wow, that's a really great question. I would bring up budget cuts. I think that this is something that is affecting the entire student body, and this is an issue that that nobody can ignore. I think that if I'm meeting with this chancellor, I want to make sure that every minute is spent talking about what we can do to help our students. And I know that there are so many other issues out there, but this issue affects everybody, right? So I know that as president, I'll be able to meet with the chancellor regularly. Hopefully that's the plan, right? And I don't want to waste time. I don't want to waste time with just discussing things that that he said on the agenda. Like, I want my time in the meeting with him to be about the students and to be about what the students want on the agenda. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be making sure that the students know exactly what meetings with what administrators that I have coming up. I'm going to post that online and advertise as best as I can. And I'm going to let everybody, email me. I'll go through all the emails. I'm used to getting a lot of emails, and go through it and see what questions there are. And I'm pretty sure that as a student body, we can come up with better questions than I can as an individual. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a very particular question for Mr. Bergno. I would like to ask him whether he's with us in the student movement to eliminate the fee hikes and to increase minority enrollment, or is he not? If he's with us on this movement, then he needs to start paying up for some buses to take us to Sacramento, to take us to Washington, to start a movement to make these demands for increase of funding for education from the state and from the federal government. And that is how we build this movement. Increasing minority enrollment will eliminate the hostile campus climate for minorities right now. This is not a myth. This is something that happens in Berkeley, but recently there have been documented instances in UC Davis and in UC San Diego that are intolerable. And this is why we need to build that movement to say that this is not going to be tolerant by student power. We're going to demonstrate our student power, and we're going to negotiate from a position of power. We are not going to play games or compromise on that.
I would not meet with the chancellor because I don't think the president really represents students. Only about 30% of people vote, and maybe half vote for the president. I don't think the president's a special person that can effectively communicate to the chancellor what individual students care about, so I'd pass on the meeting.
No?